And that is where this vlog came from. I'm kind of a science geek, and I have always loved space. I remember reading an adult nonfiction about black holes when I was like 10 or 11, and while it's only been like a hobby interest of mine, I haven't done a lot beyond taking a class in college, things like that. I have always loved science fiction because I love the science behind it and the creativity that authors show in addressing the science of other worlds. When I heard that the Project Hail Mary movie was going to be coming out in March, I knew that I had to prioritize reading the book because it's been on my TBR for a little bit. It's kind of intimidating. I don't know if you feel the same because I've only heard amazing things about it. I know there's a lot of expectations behind what this book will be about. And I honestly don't know a lot about the synopsis other than it is a science fiction book. And I think it involves primarily one character that wakes up and is not sure what's going on in his situation on a spaceship. But I actually don't know if that's correct. So for my 26 in 2026 reading goal, I made sure to include Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir because I really want to read this book this year, and I've had it on my physical TBR for quite a while now. And I thought it would be perfect to read this book before the movie comes out towards the end of March. But it gets even better because one of my favorite yarn dyers, Maggie of Yarnaceous Fibers, came out with the Project Hail Mary colorway. It is inspired by the new cover with Ryan Gosling on it. I love the colors. I don't love having Ryan Gosling's face on it, but that's just me. I don't really like movie book covers, but I love this skein of yarn, and I thought it would make this experience even better to have Project Hail Mary yarn and read the Project Hail Mary book and watch the Project Hail Mary movie, maybe even work on this project while I'm watching the movie because I do love some good movie knitting. And that is where this vlog came from. If you're new here, hi, my name is Emily Crow from The Cozy Crow, and I am a maker and a reader, and I like to include here on my channel content in both the reading and the making categories, but I especially love having content that covers both of those interests of mine. So having yarn and books together, I think is just perfect. And I'm really excited to be able to film this vlog and take you along with me. I need to find a project to make this yarn with. I have a lot of sock yarn. This whole column is sock yarn. So I did not want to get a skein of sock yarn and make socks with it. I wanted to branch out a little. So I was thinking a DK skein, maybe make a hat with it. I think I can make a hat with one skein of yarn. So I need to find a pattern that will allow this variegated colorway to shine, but also isn't totally simple knitting. I mean, I could knit a muscle burra, easy peasy, but I want to do something a little different, a new to me pattern, something I haven't tried before, support another designer. So I'm gonna take a look and see what I can find, probably knitting to be able to get through an entire hat in a skein. But maybe I'll find something crochet. I do both. Let's take a look at Ravelry and see if we can find a project that'll be a good fit for this skein of yarn. And I already have the audiobook for Project Hail Mary, so let's also get started on that. All right, so I pulled up Ravelry. I do knit and crochet, so I have it open for both of those. But we can actually go into the categories and refine our search. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick a hat. I'm just gonna say all hats to make it simple. I need an adult size hat or a teen size hat because I kind of have a small head. I want one color. I definitely want DK. And I could go sport and worsted. Depending on my gauge, I could maybe make a sport weight or worsted weight gauge work, but we'll just aim for DK. Who is making a DK hat that is 21,000 yards? Anyway, I am going to pick whatever this falls under. So I have 246 yards. So I'm gonna select that choice. And here we go. I've got a bunch of choices. I could also pick some features of the hat. I think not cables, but texture would probably work. I wish I could exclude cables. I'm sure there's a way to do that. Something like this maybe. It's a broken rib. Would show off the pattern well. And it's free. Gonna add that to my favorites. This is a choice. Auckland Bound by Maddie Moe in a broken rib hat. Pretty simple. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want a simple hat with some maybe texture, but nothing too crazy that'll distract from the colorway itself. Honestly, I think I might choose this. How many projects does it have? It's looking pretty good and variegated. Okay, it's decided we're gonna be making Auckland Bound by Maddie Moe because it is a free download. It looks really good in variegated colors as well. Nice, really simple texture. It's a broken rib and it's free. So I love that. I'm excited to try this pattern out. So let's wind up our yarn and get ready to cast on and start this audiobook. Your chain stitches going?
Not very good.
Well, that's why we practice.
Yeah, practice it.
Nice.
What yarn are you winding?
Some yarn to make a hat.
I forgot which way I wind the yarn on it. So
You wrap it away from you, but up and over the top. Go under and then over. Yep, like that.
And do I grab the yarn with this?
Grab the yarn with the hook, pull the first loop through the second loop. Yep. Keep going. Pull it through. I am flying through Project Hail Mary. I was thinking that I would only read this, or I guess listen to it since I'm doing the audiobook. I figured I would only listen to it while I was actually knitting on this hat, and that is not the case because I cannot put this down. I can't help myself from just listening to it every chance I get while I'm moving the laundry, while I'm making lunch for my kids, while I'm making lunch for my kid, while I am driving. Like, I just can't put it down. So I think I'm going to finish this book way faster than I'm going to finish the hat, but that's okay because we have a little bit more time before watching the movie. What's really cool is a local yarn store to me, Pettifours and Pearls, it's in Lehigh, Utah, is organizing a, what do they call it? Like makers and movie night. I'll pop up the little image right here, but they are organizing a craft-friendly movie night at a local entertainment center. And so I bought my ticket, so I get to see the movie. I just have to be more intentional about getting out of the house by myself and doing things for me now that I have a newborn. So I got my ticket. I've communicated with my husband, so we should be good at, handing off the kids and whatnot. And I'll get to go watch the movie and bring along some knitting. Not sure if I will bring the hat, but if it's not done by then, I will bring it for the movie, which actually might be perfect. Maybe I'll try to finish the hat during the movie, but I'm really excited already to see what the movie has in store. Little update on this book. So I am on page 120, which is like maybe 25-ish% into the audiobook. If you don't know anything about this book, my first impression from what I remembered was actually pretty accurate. There is one astronaut that is on a spaceship. He wakes up and he has no idea what's going on. There's no one else alive on the ship. He's trying to figure out why he's there, what he's supposed to do, who were these other people that are now dead, kind of thing. Very, very interesting premise. And that's basically the story. And you are getting to know him as a character as he is trying to remember himself and remember his role on the ship and try to even figure out where he is or where he's going. So you get little snippets where he has flashbacks and he starts to gain some of his memory from this amnesia. And I actually think this amnesia is done really, really well. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Sometimes the amnesia trope is really annoying and you're just like yelling at the character and you're getting really frustrated, but he is being very logical in picking up bits and pieces of information. So he's like, okay, like I like kids. And he's like, wait a second, but I'm not married. Oh no, like why do I like kids? And then he's like, oh wait, I'm a teacher. I'm a science teacher. So it's really entertaining to like see him go through the experience of remembering things. Sorry, my baby making cute noises as he does. And so that's been really fun to see him figure out what's going on both personally as well as what's going on with his situation and why he's there. I am really loving how this has a lot of hard science to it. It's very intentional. It feels very logical. I'm sure that if I was an astrophysicist, I would have some concerns about some of the things written in here. But as someone who's just taken an astronomy class in college, who enjoys astronomy and learning about space and planets and yada, 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 and who in general has a science background, all of this makes sense. Like all the science that we have come across so far. I don't feel like saying this is science fiction is just an excuse to do what fantasies the author wants to write about in the story. I feel like it makes a lot of sense, like the whole thing that we are reading about, and I'm really enjoying that. It is also really funny. I talked about how Ryland was figuring out why he likes kids even though he's not married, and there's just a lot of really funny quips. You really get a sense for who his character is, which is also really fun to discover who he is as he is discovering himself. So like I mentioned, he is a science teacher. It sounds like he teaches like middle school age maybe. They're a little bit older than elementary school, but it doesn't feel as serious as high school. So I'm guessing like middle school, junior high age kids. He has a PhD and was involved in research. He had postulated that there were organisms that were not based on water. Every organism that we know about as humans is derived from water compounds, like has water involved in how they function as an organism, from single-celled organisms all the way up to humans and everything in between, plants, animals, etc., etc. He was, I would not say like a laughing stock, but a lot of people judged him harshly for this viewpoint of his, that was a possibility. And honestly, alien life forms, I'm sure they exist. And I'm sure they are different than the organic compounds that we are used to. So that doesn't feel like that big of a deal, but he created a lot of buzz with this thesis of his. And so people were kind of judging him a little bit. And he was like, you know what? I'm not made for academia. I'm just going to teach science, teach these kids and help acquaint them with the STEM world. From what we found out so far, he has been pulled into figuring out what is going on with planet Earth. There is a mass extinction event incoming. There are these things that he named astrophages that are single-celled organisms that are traveling between the sun and Venus. They are consuming some of the sun's energy, so the sun is cooling down. But even if the sun cools down by only like 1%, that cools the entire Earth by like 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a massive difference and will cause massive extinction. So they are figuring out how much longer do they have? How do we figure out what's going on? How do we make sure that the sun doesn't decrease in its capacity so that we can keep our planet alive? And so the whole world is in a tizzy trying to figure out what is going on, how much time do they have left, and is there anything they can do to stop what's happening? So Ryland, with his viewpoint that there are alien organisms that are not water-based, sorry, my son's being really loud and really cute. So Ryland is trying to figure out what's going on with these astrophages. He is not the only scientist. There are other scientists that are also learning about these astrophages, trying to figure out what they can do to stop them or to kind of reach an equilibrium before this mass extinction event. It's kind of interesting to see the whole world come together from different countries and organizations trying to solve this problem because they don't have a lot of time left. So with that little intro, I alluded to this. I'm gonna plow through this book. I am not gonna worry about the hat. I mean, I'm gonna work on it, but I am not gonna make very much progress before I'm going to finish this book, but we'll touch base in a little bit as I learn a little bit more about what's going on and what Ryland will have to do in order to save planet Earth. And I'll give you an update too on how my hat's coming next time I chat with you. All right, we are later on in the day and I have made lots of really good progress. I'm like halfway through, maybe a little over halfway through, done with Project Hail Mary. I am really enjoying this and I have been, but I'm just liking everywhere where this is going. Now, last I talked with you, we were just about to head into a major pivot point in the story and where the plot is going and kind of the direction of everything. I've heard people talk about it online as like a big spoiler that we don't know about. And so they've been really cagey about talking about this particular point, but as soon as I got to this point, I knew that this is what everyone was talking about. I don't feel like it's that much of a spoiler, especially because if you read the back cover, it's definitely alluded to and it's not out of the realm of what would be occurring in a book of this genre. I don't feel like it's a spoiler, but if you don't want to know anything about this book beyond kind of the introduction that I've already talked about, you can skip ahead, and I will probably mention this aspect in vague terms, so like a mild spoiler for the rest of this video. People feel strongly about that. I include mild spoilers in all of my vlogs about books, just so you kind of get a sense of what happens in the book, but I try not to share really big things. So, with that being said, this book, we have aliens. Specifically, we have one alien. And Rocky has my heart. And I am absolutely loving the way that Ryland is interacting with him and deducing how to interact with this alien. And also how he is, I don't know, taking a leap because he's not in a great spot. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Honestly, not that bad compared to the inevitable. So I really, really like how he is bravely interacting and trying to learn from Rocky. I love the cadence of everything, how at the very beginning there's a really minimal understanding, but you can definitely tell there's peace between the two, and then how over time their ability to understand one another kind of grows exponentially, which I think is really cool and makes a lot of sense that the more that you understand in communicating, then the more you can build on that and kind of gain momentum. And it just is making a lot of sense to me, and I'm really loving seeing this. I wish I had a little bit better timeline on how many days Ryland has been awake, just so I can kind of get a better sense of what's going on and like how much time left we have, since impending doom is coming for both the people on Earth as well as for Ryland himself. So I'm really loving seeing their interactions and also seeing how Rocky's vocabulary is growing and how his syntax and speech is changing over time as he is getting accustomed to communicating with Ryland. So I'm really excited to see how these two work together to solve their problem, since they are both coming from systems where the energy of their stars are being consumed by these astrophages. So really excited to see where this goes. And I don't know, I'm just feeling like very wholesome, heartfelt. I love their relationship. And if something happens to Rocky, I might cry. Okay, spoiler it out of the way. I am really enjoying this. And it is surprisingly more heartfelt and wholesome than I anticipated. I love seeing Ryland's character and how he's growing and changing and learning, and kind of how he is trying to address this issue at hand. They tried to prepare him as much as they could to send him out into space and give him as much information as possible so he could run experiments and learn about what's really going on with these astrophages, and we're learning alongside him, which is really fascinating. I have not made it very far on my brim. It is going to be a double brim, so I have a ways to go. I have about an inch, I would say, maybe slightly more than an inch, but I need like 4.5 inches, and then we'll fold up the brim, knit it together, and continue on in the pattern. Again, I have a ways to go, so we'll be working on this a while. We'll touch base again in a little bit when I have made more progress on this book. Like I said, I'm going to fly through this. I might even finish it tonight if I get a lot of time to myself where I can clean and organize and knit and just power through this book and hopefully make some good progress on this hat. We had a great night last night. My son didn't wake up at all, so he slept for like 11 hours. Amazing, felt amazing this morning, but then he didn't want to sleep at all today, and he didn't want to get put down at all. So we went on a walk. He fell asleep. It worked. So I got a little bit of time. I was able to finish my brim. Yay! I actually finished Project Hail Mary last night, but we'll talk about this hat first. So it's a fold over brim. It was hard to maneuver just because I didn't have the right kind of needles to pick up the stitches that I had on hold from the provisional cast on, and then to like squish it through the middle of the hat to then have it on the inside portion of the hat. So it was just a little fiddly, but it's done. I have now started on the actual stitch repeat. And also, I don't have the right needles again because the only US size 5 that I have that are smaller circumference, it ends up being like maybe 20 inches, and I would really like a 16-inch circular. But my local yarn store does not have 16-inch circulars in a US 5 of ChowGoo. So I will just power through with this where it's a little bit too long and I just have to squish my stitches around every like maybe 5 or 10 stitches. So a little bit more tedious, but I can't really do anything about that. And I'd rather do it on a smaller circular than doing magic loop and then having issues with laddering or anything like that. I think it will still go more smoothly to just have it on the slightly longer circulars. So we are continuing on. I have to check the pattern and see how tall to make the hat before I start decreasing, but I do want a more snug fitting beanie. My daughter wants this, but only because she wants everything that I make. So I think a smaller hat in general will work better. I really don't like a slouchy hat. I'm okay with a little bit of slouch on the end, but not an actual slouchy hat. Here's my skein, how it's looking. I decided to pull from the end that had more color variation. You can see that on the outside, there's a lot of this pinky purpley, which still goes very well, but just the way that the yarn was hand dyed, there's some variation. And I wanted a little bit more variety in the colors in the hat. And then that should leave me with, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 grams left of yarn. And it'll be mostly this like purple, pinky, mauve-y variegated that might be good for a scrap for something. But that will also be cohesive in a different way. Though I'm not sure how much exactly I'll have left over, we'll have to wait and find out. We are continuing on with this hat. I'm glad that it's now at like an easy point. I don't have to keep measuring because I can just knit for a little while until I get to kind of the length that I'm thinking. Project Hail Mary. I really, really love this book. I will leave my final review at the very end of this vlog, as I like to do in my book and yarn vlogs. I really enjoyed where this book was going, and I wasn't quite sure how things would work out, but because of the hard science, it was very interesting and intriguing to see what the characters were doing to figure out how to solve this astrophage problem. So I really liked getting to follow along both with the current timeline of Ryland on the spaceship, as well as the past timeline of him on Earth with all these other experts trying to figure out what to do about this problem and how they were going to prep astronauts to go up in space. We found out a little bit more about why Ryland was selected to be in space. Some things heartbreaking, you know, some things understandable, some things, you know, just lots of emotions, right? Tied to that decision to go on this mission. And the way that this ended was not what I was expecting. Like I said, I'm still a little undecided on my rating. The way that this ended in some ways was really satisfying. In some ways, I think I wanted a slightly different ending, but I feel like it still suited the wholesomeness of parts of this story. I'm trying to be vague. I will get to my final rating at the very end of this video. But now that we're finished with this, so excited. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Now I'm going to be listening to some other books while I am working on this hat. Actually, I don't really have to finish this before the movie next week because I can work on this during the movie, because the point of the movie is that there will be enough lighting for makers to make things. We'll see how much I get done, because it would be great to have this finished during the movie or at the very end of the movie. Good timing for finishing out this vlog, but we'll make some more progress on this, and I'll talk to you next when we are going to see Project Hail Mary starring Ryan Gosling. All right, so I wanted to give an update. I have done maybe like an inch on the hat. So many fun colors. And tonight is the Makers and Movies type of event that Petit Fours and Pearls is putting on. So I'm gonna go see the movie tonight, and they have arranged it so the lights will be light enough that we can craft. I've never been to this location. It's like at an entertainment center. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited. And considering how it didn't take me super long to do this 1 inch, and I don't want to make a slouchy hat, I am not going to work on this anymore until I get to the movie, and we will see how far I get. I think I need to have a 6-inch hat before I start my decreases, and that includes the brim. So I am well on my way to that. I don't want to be too hopeful, but I think I might be able to finish this tonight. I don't actually know how long this movie is. I did watch a couple of the trailers. There are 3 trailers, and I'm really excited. I think that this is going to be an interesting movie. There's been a lot of publicity about it, but I think it's going to be an interesting movie because the book itself is an interesting mix of like some high stakes, serious sci-fi, but also some like heartfelt wholesomeness in relationships and some really dorky humor. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of how the movie shapes up to be. But that's the yarn. I'm going by myself. I'm going to treat myself to some junk food and we're going to knit and enjoy this movie. All right, so I have seen Project Hail Mary. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I also had a really fun time at this Movies and Makers event that Petty Fours and Pearls put on. It was just delightful. It was fun to be able to go out and see a movie, enjoy some like grown-up time, make a new friend that I was sitting with, and get a chance to do some knitting because they had like little lamps on the little tables that flip out so that you had a little bit of light, and it was honestly perfect for the event. I had a really great time, and because I just read the book, everything was fresh in my brain and I was able to compare the book and the movie really well, and I think they did a really great job at holding true to the book, though the book definitely has more detail and a little bit more heart. I'm not sure how I would have felt about the movie if I hadn't read the book so recently. I think I would have just loved a little bit more detail about what was going on because there's so much information scientifically that happens in the book that just a lot of that hard science they didn't get to expound upon in the movie. I also feel like Ryan Gosling is perfect for the role of Ryland. He definitely has that dorky middle school science teacher vibe about him. He can definitely lean into that. And I loved the soundtrack. I think they did a phenomenal job. I loved both the like eerie sci-fi-ness of it as well as like the plucky feeling. I don't know, it was just like an interesting combination, and I feel like they captured the feeling of the story really well because it is an interesting combination of the serious hard sci-fi as well as some more comedic and dorky and plucky interactions, some wholesomeness between the characters, things like that. So I'm definitely going to be listening to the soundtrack some more. And the scene where the head lady, is it Eva? I can't remember her name, but where she sings karaoke, I honestly cried. It was very moving and meaningful. So definitely recommend you go see it. I would love to hear if you've seen the movie, what your thoughts are about it. If you've read the book and how that has shaped your experience seeing the movie, I just would love to know because I've read the book so recently. I am curious to see for those who read it a long time ago, for those who read it a few years ago, or for those who haven't read the book, what your thoughts were on the movie. I enjoyed it. I definitely see myself seeing it again. Let's talk about my project. I was able to finish the body of the hat. There's my marker that I placed. This is where I started at the beginning of the movie. So I was maybe like half an inch or so into the body of the hat. I do not want to have a slouchy hat. So I did the shorter version, which was recommended about 6 inches. So it's about 6 inches from the end of the brim to there. Time to start my decreases. I'm going to finish up the decreases, take you along with me, block my hat, and then we're going to do my final conclusion on this video where I give you my final rating on Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. All right, time to finish up this vlog and kind of talk about my experience with Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir and this project that I knit with yarn inspired by Project Hail Mary. So as a reminder, I knit the Auckland Bound hat by Maddie Moe. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. It comes in 3 different adult sizes. Maybe the small size is considered like child or teenager. I knit that size because I have a small circumference head, only about 20 inches if I remember correctly. So I definitely need a smaller size and I prefer a more snug fitting hat. This hat is a broken rib texture, so pretty simple, but not an entirely vanilla hat, which is nice. I feel like it showcases the variegation of this yarn really, really well. And it was fun to knit, easy to read my knitting. just a solid pattern. It does have a fold over brim. It's still a little wet. I was blocking it, and that fold over brim just has a lot of fabric, so it's still a little bit damp right here. But I really like the fold over brim. I did a not slouchy version. It is slightly slouchy in length, but it's not overly slouchy. I actually really like the fit of it. I tried it on last night. I'll include pictures so you can see kind of how it fits on me. I did like I said, the unslouchy version. So I did 6 inches from the end of the folded brim up to the start of the decreases rather than 8 inches total for that. I feel like this yarn really shines. It's so fun and colorful. And while I love these colors and I love the colors on the new cover, I don't really want Ryan Gosling's face on my book. So I'm glad that I have the old cover because I feel like this is also a pretty iconic cover. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. I definitely recommend this yarn if you really like this intricate, variegated type of colorway. Sometimes it's hard to know what to do with a color that's so busy, but I feel like a hat like this is perfect. Nice, dark, moody, really lets those colors shine. This hat would go with like any outfit, really. Let's talk about the book now. So I really loved it, and I love getting to see the movie right after finishing the book. If you can hear my daughter in the background, she has the hiccups. I'm gonna give it 4.75 star. I know that sounds silly. I really like the quarter star ratings that Storygraph does. First of all, I love supporting Storygraph. They are a Black women-owned business. It's a free app. I love tracking things over there. Definitely recommend. My link is down below if you want to be my friend on there and see what I'm reading in real time. But I like their quarter star system because you can talk about the intricacies of it. If I wasn't talking about the nitty-gritty details, I would probably say this is a 5, but it's not a perfect book for me. It is really close though. I absolutely loved the combination of the really hard sci-fi with lots of really interesting details about what Earth was battling at this time, as well as the heartfelt relationships and dorky characters that we see in this book. I really like that blend, and I feel like it really suited the things that I enjoy in books. I do like cozier reads, but I also like really intense world building, and this kind of had some of both. The reason that I didn't rate this a 5 star was the ending. The reason I didn't prefer this ending, it's just a little bit hokey for me. It feels like everything wrapped up a little bit too nicely. I guess based on where the story was going, I was expecting more of a somber conclusion, and it leaned a little bit farther away from the serious and towards the dorky for me. And so I have a vision of what I would have wanted the ending to be like, but that's not what this was, and that's fine. I don't think it was a bad ending, but it wasn't what I would have preferred. Having the kind of ending that I envisioned for this book, I feel like would have tied things together in a more meaningful way rather than like a plucky way. And that's kind of what I was looking forward to. So the fact that the ending just didn't suit me is fine. Maybe some of you love how it ended because it was a little bit dorky and cute. And so that's just my personal preference, and I can rate this a 4.75 because it is almost exactly what I wanted in a book. I blew through this book really fast. I loved getting to do the audiobook. It is an Audible exclusive, unfortunately, and I am trying to move away from Audible. I am trying out Libro FM right now. I know that they don't have the exclusive audiobooks, which is a bummer because I like to use my Libby, and if I like to purchase any from Libro FM, I will still have some audiobooks I just can't access because of the exclusivity of Audible in some cases, unfortunately. I'm really glad I did have the audiobook for this. It really made the book come to life, and I blew through it in like 2.5 days. Not even that, which is really fast. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I kept wanting to pick it up every chance I got, and that really shows me that this is a favorite book of mine at this moment in time. That it really was a great book. I know some people don't love it, and that's okay, but a lot of people highly recommend it, and I do too. Even if you're not a super science geek, I think you could still really appreciate and enjoy this book and have a lot of fun with it, and you won't need to know all the nitty-gritty science stuff in order to appreciate the story that this is telling. Thank you so much for joining me on this vlog. I had a lot of fun. I was so happy to be able to get a book off my physical TBR that I had been hoping to get off my TBR for a really long time. I was so excited to go see the movie and spending some time with other grown-ups since I have been at home with my kids a lot. And I really loved getting to knit this palette cleanser of a project, just this hat with a single skein of yarn that was a really fun and simple texture and a really nice break in the things I have been working on this month. So all around, I had so much fun, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing me walk you through this. I will make sure there's links down below if you are interested in purchasing this yarn from Yarnaceous. I'm pretty sure they still have more on their website as we speak. And let me know down below if you have read this book and what your thoughts are on it. I would also love if you didn't enjoy this book. Tell me why, because everyone is different, and I love to hear your perspective about the books that I'm reading. So if you also like this book and you have some recommendations for me on other things you'd like to see me read, let me know down below as well. If you want to see more content from me, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification down below to be notified every time I post a new video, because I do not have a regular posting schedule. I have a newborn and a 5-year-old at home, so we are just posting whenever we get the chance to film and get through videos. But I have quite a few videos on my channel in the yarn and bookish realm, so if you like that type of content, there is a lot here and a lot more to come. Until next time, happy reading and happy making. Bye!
I'm filming.
Okay, tell me more about, I don't know much about linen. I mean, I'm like really attracted to the texture of this. Do you have anything that's knit?
What's this video, sis? What's your one video, sis? Video. Let's do a video with the yarn. Can we play Call Rainbow inside? Hi, God. Yarn Rainbow.
Play yarn rainbow right there. You can play yarn rainbow. All the colors are right there. Yes. Or we could do I Spy. Hello.
I Spy.
Good. How are you? Good.
But do a whole one. It's boring when it's easy.
I Spy with my
Yellow.
something pink. Okay, I think we're probably done. So if you want to turn the video off, that's a pretty
No, I want video everywhere.
Everywhere, okay.
Not my turn. I spot my something colored pink.
Pink, is it the sign?
Yes.
That is a fun sign.
Look, Mom, a video on a word pink. Video.